The David story. Let's see what this is about.
Now, like a lot of you already know, the recent story surrounding singer David, spelled D4VD, is still dominating headlines. Police are still deep into their investigation of what really happened to 14-year-old Celeste Rivas, the young girl who was tragically found in the front trunk of the Tesla registered to the singer. Even though there's still no breakthrough information in what the authorities are treating as a homicide case, there have been a lot of things happening around this story and around David himself. So the goal of this video is to keep you fully informed with the verifiable details about what's going on right now with this David story. So with that being said, let's get into it, shall we? Let's run through a quick recap of what we know so far, so everybody's in the loop with this story. Most of you probably know the basic gist.
Bro, every commentary channel has been spamming this. Every video, they spend like 8 minutes of the video to make sure they hit that 8-minute mark recapping
of it. But for anyone who's not fully caught up, on September 8, headlines broke that an unidentified person had been found in the front trunk of a Tesla registered to the popular singer David, spelled D4VD. At that point, the remains were classified as a Jane Doe, which is a term investigators use when they haven't yet confirmed the victim's identity.
Right.
But later, it was confirmed that the victim was a young girl named Celeste Rivas. Her body was discovered after the Tesla had been towed to a Hollywood impound lot, and when the staff noticed a foul odor, they opened the front trunk and made the discovery and then called the police.
Right.
Not long after, detectives executed a search warrant at a Hollywood Hills home where David had been staying, and they seized multiple electronics as part of the investigation.
Yeah, you know you fucked up when an investigator walks out your house looking like that, bro.
At the same time, the medical examiner reported that the body inside was severely decomposed to the point where it was very difficult for them to determine exactly what had happened to the little girl.
And it was chopped up. Let's not forget it was chopped up. I'm pretty sure they only saw, they didn't have the legs. They only had the upper torso and head.
Or how she died. We also know that neighbors told investigators that the car had been parked in that spot for over a month before it was finally towed away. Police also stated that the body had been in that Tesla for an extended period of time, though they haven't specified exactly how long. There's plenty of other details I could add, but I wanted to give you the essentials here. No need to drag this out because I know we got some other shit to do, okay? Ever since investigators were able to figure out the identity of the victim, their focus has been on piecing together what really happened to this.
Question, do any of y'all listen? Like, I heard one of his songs maybe on Fortnite, definitely one of them on Invincible, but before this, have any of y'all actually, like, has David been on y'all radar? Because he hasn't been on mine, really.
Little girl. During this time, the remains of Celeste Rivas had been with the medical examiner's office for review, but just a few days ago on Wednesday, her body was officially released back to her family. Now, that doesn't mean the investigation is over. In fact, the manner of her death, exactly how she died, still isn't public. At this stage, investigators almost certainly know more than we do, but nothing has been shared with the public yet. And while police have been very quiet about the deeper details of this case, the big question in the middle of this entire thing is David's connection to Celeste. Her mother publicly stated that Celeste had a boyfriend named David. Multiple witnesses have also testified that they've seen them together, and there are even pictures and live stream footage confirming that they did in fact know each other. What remains unclear, however, is the true extent of that relationship. Law enforcement has not confirmed whether David will face any charges based on this connection.
There's no way he doesn't, though, because what business as an 18-year-old do you have? There was a tweet, I don't know if he's going to bring it up, but there was a confirmed tweet that her brother said that since she was of the age of 11 to 12, David would come and pick her up in that exact same Tesla. So he had to be 17, 18 around this time. What business do you have, bro? He better face charges for that.
What we do know is that investigators are using every resource available to figure things out, and
this nigga's going to jail for life, bro.
Every piece of information that'll give them the answers to what they're looking for. The police chief himself confirmed that detectives are actively looking into the connection between David and Celeste, along with every other possible angle tied to the case. So that's obviously very interesting. We're gonna have a separate conversation about the relationship between Celeste and David in another video. But right now, let's shift the focus to this. The last time we talked, I mentioned how authorities executed a search warrant at the Los Angeles property where David had been staying. The place was allegedly being rented by his manager, and it was the last spot David was staying at. When detectives searched the property, they walked out with multiple devices and electronics. And not only that, the house also has security cameras installed, which recorded everyone going in and out. At this point in time, investigators most likely have that footage in their possession. Now, when it comes to the search warrant, we've also learned that police are looking into the possibility that Celeste...
Bro, This is just insane, bro. He's too old to be fucking with like a little girl like that, bro. You way too old for this shit. Too rich too and famous.
May have been killed inside the home David was staying at. And for anyone who's ever watched the show Dexter, which by the way is goated, you might remember how Dexter used a spray when he was checking a crime scene. And that spray is called luminol, and it makes even the slightest traces of blood visible under.
Bro, I be seeing that when I watch crime videos on this channel. Yeah, they can do that. I mean, this one time they did that shit all the way up to like a year or two behind, and they still saw the blood.
Certain lighting. According to LAPD's Scientific Investigation Division, during the 12-hour search of the property that David was staying at, detectives actually used luminol to check for any blood evidence. Because the body was discovered not far from where he was staying, investigators are clearly looking into whether something happened inside. On top of that, they also checked sink drains in case there had been any attempt to wash away any blood. They also swept the entire home for fingerprints and collected hair samples.
That's so fucking scary too, nigga. That's so scary that you can do something, clean it up, and they still can see where it was at. Like, what type of shit, man?
So, for example, Celeste's hair is found inside. That could be a crucial...
So, there, you know, this is completely unrelated, but there's no reason that black kid at that HBCU hanging from a tree, there's no reason that case shouldn't get solved. If they're so advanced that they can look back in time, like, and we got phones and cameras everywhere these days, there's no way they don't solve that black kid hanging from that tree case. If they can go all the way a year back or a couple months back and find some old blood.
A piece of evidence.
Okay.
So right now, investigators are piecing together a timeline of Celeste Riva's final days. They're going back in time through her last known movements, and they're also digging into devices seized from the home that David was staying at. Questions like, where was she last seen alive, who was she with, and what led to her disappearance, and obviously what exactly did they do to this little girl. And speaking of her last movements, I did some digging and I came across surveillance footage that shows what are believed to be the last images of Celeste before she vanished from home. The footage comes from a liquor store just down the street from her family's house in Lake Elsinore, California. Security cameras there, time-stamped just after 7 a.m. on March 19th, 2024, captured a person in a black hoodie and white pants. Celeste's own family actually identified that the person was her. And in the video, you can see her jogging around the corner, switching between walking and running before disappearing from the frame.
Look at her. She's like a little girl and shit. She's skipping and shit,
You can see her jogging around the corner, switching between walking and running before disappearing from the frame.
She's
the
like
store owner, a man named Eli Nadaf, later said that Celeste's sister actually came into the store that day asking to review the surveillance footage to check if Celeste had run away.
When she missing first time, her sister come in here, ask me, and we start looking at the camera to find out where she go and if we can find anything to get her back.
When her sister saw the footage, she confirmed it was her, and Nadaf gave the video to the family in hopes it would help them find her. And here's something important. This wasn't the first time Celeste had ran away. It's also been confirmed that she left home back in January 2024, just a few months before this case turned into an active...
Running away at like 12, 13 is crazy too. I'm surprised nobody got involved before this. It makes sense too why she would mess with David then, because like if you run away from your family because maybe you're having problems with your families, maybe somebody did something to you, I don't know, then you're gonna lean on, like, you ever notice somebody who's in a toxic relationship with their mom and dad, whatever, they end up moving in with somebody who's equally as toxic, but there's like, they just want to get away from their circumstance, so they just latch on to whoever else is around them, even if they're not good for them. I definitely think that maybe seems like that's playing a role in this too. If she ran away home before this whole thing.
Missing persons investigation. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to drop a little like.
You can't say drop a like after talking about a missing girl like that, Blackie.
So I can keep you fully informed on this
But I would
story.
drop a like.
Continuing. So now let's go over some of the other things happening around this story. Not necessarily the investigation itself, but details that are still very important.
Right.
Starting with the testimonies of people who allegedly saw David and Celeste together. According to people who partied with and knew singer David, a lot of them were under the impression that Celeste was his girlfriend, and many of them say that they were shocked when the news came out that she was only 14 years old. Sources from the
Look
LA
at this demon, bro. Nigga look like gray matter off Ben 10.
music scene told TMZ they saw both of them at parties and hangouts.
Nigga look like a French Indian bulldog.
And to them, it looked like they were a couple. So these people who seen David and Celeste together, they were like, oh,
Nigga look like Lil Uzi Vert if he never made it.
that's a couple right there. That's what they thought. They thought that they were just generally together because I guess that's how they were moving, right? We also found out that some of these people actually thought that Celeste was a University of Southern California student. Shout out to USC. Friends believed she was around 19 years old because that's how she presented herself, apparently. And here's where it gets even more interesting, okay? Because according to law enforcement sources, Celeste was apparently able to move around so freely because she had multiple fake IDs, all in an effort to appear much older than she actually
Yeah, so she was just, it sounded like Celeste was moving a little crazy.
was. So,
But what made her want to, obviously I get, you want to be grown and stuff like that, but what in her upbringing and who are her parents? Like, what was her life, I wonder, that made her want to be so grown at such a young age? Like, I wonder, like, who, like, because this is obvious, obviously David's fault. He's just a weirdo, but I think this is also like a parenting thing. If your child's running away, trying to come across as way older than they are, stuff like that, it kind of makes you wonder, like, what were her parents like to make her want to distance herself from being a kid and from her home that much?
that would explain why people assumed they were together. If David showed up at an 18 plus function and Celeste was with him, most people probably just thought nothing of it, right? Now let's talk a little bit about the Tesla itself, because there's actually a private investigator, a guy by the name of Steve Fisher, who managed to obtain photos of the Tesla 5 days before the body was discovered and 3 days before it ended up.
Wait, but how do y'all but if a body starts stinking after a couple of days and this body has been in there for over, let's say 2 weeks, how did people tow this car? How did this nigga get close enough to take pictures and nobody ever smelled the smell? That's all I want to know. Was the body in there before that? Now I'm starting to wonder, was the body in? I'm not saying David didn't do it for sure, right? But was the body in there before that? Or was it put in there? Because how did this nigga take I don't understand how you take pictures and get that close to a Tesla that stinks so bad that people want to call. You know what I'm saying? People want to. I don't see how you get that close, because it's gonna stink the closer you get, and you didn't think to go like, it stinks. I don't know. That's weird. That's really weird. I was thinking the same thing with the towing, but I guess with towing companies, they don't have to get out the car to tow. But still, like, nobody smelled that?
Lot. Here's what we know, okay? A complaint was first made about the car on August 26th. And just explain for my international viewers, because not everybody's American, right? When someone makes a complaint like that, it usually means the vehicle has been left unattended for too long and is being reported as abandoned.
Right. So that was August 26th. We didn't get the news that there was a body until what? The 8th? So, you know what I'm saying? Why did it take so long to...
At that point, there was no mention of any kind of odor.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's kind of weird.
From the car. On August 27th, just 3 days later, an officer inspected the car. Then on September 3rd, it was ticketed. A couple of days later, on September 5th, the Tesla was officially towed, and by September 6th or 5th, I believe it was actually registered at the impound lot. Now, one key detail here, the car was not reported stolen at the time, okay? Very important. So this timeline suggests that the Tesla was just sitting there unnoticed, even after being reported as abandoned. Nobody flagged it as stolen. Nobody connected it to anything bigger until it finally got towed and that discovery was eventually made.
Imagine being able to build...
I'm just tripping off. How does nobody smell that? Because, nigga, you can drive down the street with your windows down. If you drive past a dead animal on the road, you'll smell that shit. But a whole human dead, right? I don't even know what a human dead body smells like, but I've heard there's no smell like it. So how do you just miss that and you get close enough to take pictures? So either that nigga just ignored it, either that nigga didn't notice it, or maybe the body wasn't even there yet at this point. Who knows?
Now, one thing that really makes you wonder is, how come there was no
comments feel like
smell
this too?
reported at the time when that first complaint was made? It could be that how do you say that word?
Decomposition?
Decomposition. I'm sorry. English is my third language. My apologies. It could be that the decomposition process hadn't fully started.
Also, Blackie, I don't like how you call Celeste a child, but you don't call 14-year-old black guys, 14-year-old black kids, you know what I'm saying, that got generational trauma and stuff like that, who just so happen to be violent. You call them grown men. All 14-year-olds, regardless of what they did, are children, man.
Yet, which would explain why nobody noticed an odor back then. But that's something investigators are obviously looking into right now. And until we get the official details, all we can do is note how unusual that part of the timeline really is.
That's very
now, let's also
strange.
touch on this photo right here, okay? It's gonna stay on the screen for like 2-3 seconds. Obviously, I blurred the woman's face, okay? See this photo right here? Okay, good. Let's also touch on this photo right here that started circulating online of a mystery woman at one of David's shows in the DMV, Maryland. Shout out to Maryland, shout out to the DMV, okay? Some people are claiming that this was actually Celeste. And from the research
This nigga look like a off-brand Offset.
I've done, that actually was not her. The woman in the photo does look very, very similar, but it's been confirmed she was not Celeste, okay? Now, shifting the conversation to David's crib
Why did you blur her face then if she wasn't?
itself, because the reality is he's actually bigger than ever in the middle of all
This nigga looks like a goddamn sideshow Bob.
this, right? Recently, David actually had the biggest streaming day of his career on Spotify, pulling in over 12 million streams in a single day.
Damn, that's like $60,000 in one day.
That's crazy. And I think a
Just
lot of it
off
just comes down
Spotify.
to the curiosity factor. I mean, a lot of people are just now finding out about him because of the story, which is pushing his
And
name
they're
further
listening
into
to
the
his
spotlight.
music to
So that's where
try
we're
to
currently
find
at in
shit.
this David spelled D4VD story. Right now, we're still very much in the dark on a lot of crucial details. I know a lot of people are frustrated with the lack of answers, but cases like this take time, especially given the gravity of the situation. Also, let's not forget a little girl's life was lost, okay? And investigators have to make sure they build this case carefully if they want to hold the right person accountable, whoever that person may be. It's also worth noting that David himself hasn't said anything publicly, which honestly does make sense. At the end of the day, this is an active investigation.
Yeah, that's the smartest thing he could do is shut the fuck up. Not saying I want him to get away, but how many times have we seen in those crime videos, if the nigga would have just be quiet, they literally, only they end up incriminated themselves when the stories don't line up and they get pressured. Yeah, I hope I hope even if he didn't do the killing thing, I hope he gets locked up for the child, those laws and shit like that. You know what I'm saying?